Obviously, I believe, and we teach here at HFF across the board, that the number one ministry you have starts first inside your home, and that is your primary responsibility. And without having responsibility inside your home, without stepping up to that, then really you shouldn't be talking anyplace else. You should be focusing first and foremost on the soil God has given you, and really working in that garden. So one of the most common traits that we see in human beings is that they like to project blame to something or someone else. This is not exclusive in an argument. This could be the way you look. Well, I look this way because Grader's makes an awesome ice cream and I just can't stop eating it. Or my hair isn't cut because I can't find the right person. We find a way to project some sort of insecurity, whatever, onto something or somebody else. And I want to start by taking a look at how that actually happened in one of the first relationships of human beings. So we're going to look at the story in Genesis of Adam and Eve. And so when we see Adam after the fall of man, and God is coming in the garden, and I talked about that a little bit the last time that I taught in Tulsa. God's coming and he's calling. And God's like, hey, wait a second, you guys have ate of that tree of the knowledge of good and evil. I mean, God's smart. He knew before he even called them in the garden. He knew what had happened. And so he's calling them in the garden. And Adam and Eve are hiding. Adam and Hava are hiding. And so then all of a sudden there's this conversation and the Lord is like, whoa, did you eat from that tree? And Adam's like, oh, it's the woman you gave me. This is the same guy who was created by God, who was walking in the garden with God, who God obviously knew what happened when he came walking in the garden. And Adam's first response was to project blame. Why? Because he was trying to hide his own shame. Now, I honestly believe, a lot of people will say, it's actually a running joke that, woman was the one who caused man to sin. Actually, I believe that man was the first person to sin. It was man. And I believe the man was actually guilty of two things at that point in time. It was not just the fact that they had eaten of the tree of knowledge of good and evil, which they had been instructed not to do, but the Lord had placed Adam in the garden and told him to protect it, to work it. A part of that garden was his wife. And if Adam was protecting the garden in the way that God had instructed him to, would the serpent have been able to deceive the woman inside the garden? Well, yes, possibly. Absolutely. If the serpent was more cunning than humans, then it's absolutely possible he might have been able to get in there and kind of go with there. However, though, I believe that wasn't the case. I believe that was actually a test of whether or not Adam was actually protecting his wife and the space that God had given him. And whatever Adam was worried about at that point in time, it doesn't go into a whole lot of detail. It doesn't say, well, Adam was over tending this corner of the yard, and he was petting the horses, and he was talking to the squirrels. It doesn't go into great detail on that. But what it does say is that Eve was having a conversation with the deceiver in the garden, to the point where the deceiver was able to deceive Eve to eat the fruit. And once Eve ate the fruit, she still had time to be able to go back and then deceive Adam. And at no point in time in there did Adam stand up and put a stop to it. In fact, he ends up taking it, and then when the Lord confronts him on it, he blames her. He projected blame. He didn't stand up and say, you know what, Lord, you told me not to do it, and I did it. No, he throws his wife under the bus. And so I believe that the first two sins that you have there is not only the fact that they ate of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, but that Adam actually did not protect the garden, protect his wife the way that the Father had instructed him. Now, taking ownership over our own decisions is not something that's easy. It's definitely not something that's taught nowadays in this culture. It has become the rarity. I mean, you look back a couple of generations, and some of you actually can remember those. You can remember your mom or your dad or your grandparents or whatever, and they took responsibility if they were not home to eat at a certain time with the family there. They took responsibility if they didn't do something they said they were going to do. They took responsibility if there was an argument inside their household. They stood up and they took ownership over their own actions. Now, there is no such thing as ownership over your own actions. You know, you can go, and we're watching this week, UC Berkeley over there, and, oh, hey, let's become ungovernable. Let's go riot. Let's go do all of these things, all over a First Amendment speech. And then when some of them get arrested for violent protest, they say, well, we were just doing what was right. We're just doing what this is allowed. And it's like, no, you broke the law. You chose to break the law, and now there's consequences. And the further we go down into our relationships and into our culture moving forward without any type of respect for another person or taking ownership of our own actions, we're going to see complete anarchy in our culture. We're going to see it in our homes, we're going to see it in our churches, and we are starting to see it. We're starting to see it with increased divorces. We're starting to see it with increased children who are growing up without a two-parent home, a mom and a dad, or they're two parents, but they're both mommies or they're both daddies. And so, taking ownership over the behavior and the decisions that they make, it's gone. It's gone right now. It doesn't exist. There is very few who are attempting to turn back to the Lord in that way. Now, in some of the rabbis' writings, interestingly enough, they compare a husband and wife relationship to that of the sun and the moon. The moon merely reflects the spiritual light that is received from the sun, for it has no light of its own. So too, a wife's vitality depends upon the spiritual light that her husband can shine upon her. When he's kind, considerate, she radiates. When he's critical and stingy, she suffers from a dark cloud of sadness. Her state of mind and behavior depends upon him. Now, that's Rabbi's writing. This is super orthodox. So basically what they're stating is that a woman can't radiate on her own. That she can only radiate from her husband. I don't agree with that whatsoever. I believe that both must radiate together to be in the perfect will of God. And if you minimize the husband or you minimize the wife, you have minimized a portion of God's perfect plan, hands down. However, that being said, God works through an authority structure. I know that's kind of that's a wrong word to use in a Messianic congregation, it's authority. But ultimately, God has always worked through an authority structure. And so, part of his authority structure, we started off saying that the most important thing we believe is to be ministers of our own home, is that God has a hierarchy of a family. And normally it's Yeshua is the head of the household. He's the one you're looking to. He intercedes on behalf of the father. You have the father, you have the mother, and you have however many kids all the way down. And if you have grandparents who live in the house or whatever, then they're in there too. And there is a structure of that home. And so, the quickest way for any man to see where he stands in that structure, I believe with the Lord, is to look at his own relationship with his wife. Honestly. Because after all, the Lord had created Adam and had taken Eve out of Adam. So together, the spouses should be a couple. If you have a problem in your marriage, and I've said this before, I honestly believe that this is a reflection of your relationship with the Creator. And I wanted to even take that a step further because it starts in your home. So what do you do if you're a single person? What do you do if you're a widow or you're divorced or whatever? Well, I believe that these very same principles can be applied to almost every one of your relationships. If I can't get along with Marilyn, and it's the same thing. Every time Marilyn and I get together, there's this one nagging thing that's happening there. And it's like, well, Marilyn and I just can't get along. I believe, honestly, that the Father is trying to show me as an individual in my relationship with Marilyn that I have something that I need to work on with him. Because that's not our culture right now. Our culture is actually, hey, Joe and I are at odds. Joe, you got a problem. You need to figure out how to make this happen, Joe, because that's definitely not me. And so we automatically project our blame, and all we're doing is reflecting our own shame. The problem is in any conflict that we have, I believe the Father uses that conflict to show us something inside us. It's never about Joe. It's about me. The Lord is trying to show me that I have something in my heart, in my life, that I need to fix. Now, there is no better way, I believe, for the Lord to manifest that to you and humble you up as a man by sending your wife. You want to talk about getting knocked down a couple of notches? It won't take much. It could be your mama, it could be your dad, but for a husband, it is normally your wife. Because those closest to you know exactly how to pull out the briefcase and hit the red button for launching the nukes right away. And they'll bring it down. And they'll make you look at it and examine it. But I believe these principles are exactly the same in all of our relationships. I believe that when we're looking at conflict, the number one thing we go to is what is inside them that they need to change. Or how do I need to get around this character flaw that this person has? And I believe honestly what the Lord is showing us is that no, you have a flaw right now, and I need you to see it and fix it. I need you to see it and fix it. And so he gives us the opportunity to do that. Your wife is a mirror. If you are critical of your wife, it is just like being critical of yourself. It's like looking in the mirror and being critical at yourself. When you're talking to your wife, or you're talking to your best friend, or you're talking to somebody, your mom, your dad, whatever, in a close relationship, and I really need you to change. Why are you asking them to change? Why aren't you asking yourself to change to be more adaptive to it? Why is it always somebody else has to make the modification and not us? Now, I can't speak for any other cultures, any other places that are out there if they have the same mentality, but I can tell you in the United States of America, if you go in and you get a coffee from McDonald's, I order a hot coffee from McDonald's. And if McDonald's serves me a hot coffee, I can sue them if it burns me. I take no responsibility for the fact of I should be able to drink a beverage, a basic task. I should know it's hot. The senses that God gave me should tell me this is a hot cup of coffee. I bear no responsibility whatsoever in this. That's what our culture is saying now. Oh, I'm having problems in my marriage. You know what? My wife can't submit. Okay. I think the Lord's saying this, says, you know what? I keep trying to talk to you and you won't submit. But no, we are not going to stop and look and say, maybe we're the ones to blame. Maybe we're the ones who have something the Lord is trying to teach us. It's so much easier to make it about somebody else. And ultimately, that then breeds pride, it brings jealousy, it breeds arrogance, it breeds all these other things until now you're 60, 70 years old and they say, well, you can't teach an old dog new tricks. Well, no wonder, because you never looked at your own self to begin with. In the prime time of your life, where you had the best counsel around you, you had kids at home, you had all of these people around you, your parents were still around, your brothers and sisters were still around, some of you, your grandparents were still around. God gave you the best structure around you to learn and to grow. It was always somebody else's problem, so why would I grow? Why would I learn? Now, if this is a corporate world environment, and you stop learning, you stop growing. That $35,000 a year job that you have in the tiny little cubicle in the middle of the office place with the tuna sandwich that you eat every day in your routine, that's what you got. You're done. You're done growing because you're not willing to step outside your box and say, I need to learn something more. I need to network more. I need to become better friends with this person. I need to read these manuals. No, you keep growing until you reach a point where you plateau out. And then, at the age of 55, you're retired. Those days are gone. It's gone. It's not America that's out there right now. In fact, if you can make it 3 years with the company, without company hopping to move yourself up, this is a huge change. But it starts in your home. If you believe that your wife has a problem, if you believe in a conflict that the other person is the one with the problem, I guarantee you the Lord is trying to show you that there's something along the very same lines inside yourself. So, if I want my wife to change, there's a couple ways you can go about this. I can say, you know what, sweetie? I really need you to have dinner on the table at 5 o'clock every single day. care what it is you got to do. I don't really care what's going on in your day. I'll listen and nod. But I just need dinner on the table at 5 o'clock every single day. And so I'll set that expectation. So tomorrow when the baby poops and blows out all over the carpet and she's got the carpet cleaner out and she's doing that, and then I call her in the middle of the day and I need her to send some emails to me to do this or that, which I never told her before, and I come home at 5 o'clock and all these things have hit the fan and dinner's not on the table, I'm upset. However, let's reverse these roles. So I go out, I work, my wife stays at home. So I get hit. An employee comes to me right at 4:45. I say, I'm going to be home for dinner at 5 o'clock. An employee comes to me at 4:45, needs to talk to me. Oh, sure, come on in. Shut the door, let's talk. And so I sit there and, they're just struggling with something. They're going through everything. Well, 5:15 comes. 5:20 comes. I'm still listening. I'm still counseling. I'm still doing whatever. But I'm now 20 minutes over when I told my wife I would be home, and I've yet to communicate. Well, that's acceptable, because you have to understand, it's work, and somebody said this, but is the same grace, is the same thought process being given on the other side? No, not normally. It's where you can find that balance between each other and the expectations between each other that you can then be able to move forward. Otherwise, you're sitting in a ring, boxing each other. And you're supposed to be one. So you're basically just looking at yourself and you're hitting the punching bag. And by the way, this is a perfect analogy for me because how coordinated I am. Every time I try to hit that little jab back that's supposed to go with it, that thing popped me in the face every time. I'm just not coordinated like it. And so it's like hitting yourself. It's like hitting yourself. And this is all relationships. You have a best friend, and yet you want to take it out on your friend, but the problem is really you. Friend needs to change. Friend needs to change. Friend needs to change. Now, the Messianic movement, this happens a lot. The congregation needs to change. The rabbi needs to change. Whatever. I'm done. I'm going to another congregation. No, we need to change. We need to look inside ourselves and change. God will use your home as your training ground for any ministry. Any ministry. I don't care what it is. You're going to be a street evangelist, he'll use your home for it. You're going to be working in the prison systems, he'll use your home for it. You're going to be a pastor or a rabbi, you're going to be a worship leader, you're going to be whatever. He's going to use your home for it. He's going to use the environment in which you spend the majority of your time, and the wife that he has given you, and the kids he has given you, and all of this relationship that he's given you. He's going to use that as your training ground for you to do anything. And quite frankly, if your home is a mess, then you should shut up in every other environment and go home and fix that. Because God can then empower you to move forward. But God's trying to tell us, Chad, it's not you that's the problem, it's me. And he's trying to tell me that. And you know what? I guarantee you there's certain things he's trying to tell you right now. It's like, Chad, you need to work on these too. And instead, we always want to look at somebody else. We want to look at our wife. We want to look at our friends. We want to look at this teacher, that teacher, this clothing line, that clothing line. There really is no end to it. How dare McDonald's make a hot cup of coffee? We need to observe our significant others. Life's busy. It's very, very easy to get caught up in the monotony of what's going on. But I believe one of the most important things that we can do is to devote some time to those people around us. If you're married, it's your wife. Devote some time to studying what's going on with her. Verbal, nonverbal, whatever. Devote time to it. Because you want to know how you're doing as an individual? Watch your wife. I've seen plenty of marriages where the wife is as submissive as can be and is as kind as can be, but if you watch her, she is dead. So it's not all about saying what you want to hear, it's about watching and observing. Now this happens outside of the home too. Daniel and I can have a conversation and Daniel can smile and say, yeah. But if he's rolling his eyes, if he's uninterested, if he's on his phone, whatever, then he's being polite to me. But I have to be observant of those things and say, what is it that God's wanting me to do? What is he calling me to do for this? So take time to observe your wife, observe your friend, whoever it is that you have close to you. And see if you are the son in this relationship, what is being reflected? What is being reflected back to you? This is not going to be easy, but love rebuke. It is very, very easy for people to tell you good things. Love it when they come and tell you the hard things. Why? Because most people will not do that to you. They don't care enough. I got my own problems. I got my own sandbox. If somebody loves you enough to do that, and most of the time in a husband and wife relationship, they'll tell you. Love it. Why? Because it's the Lord speaking to try to get your attention on something. And normally if it comes to that stage, this is like the Lord sending out like the full Calvary and saying, you ain't going to like it, it's next. So love the rebuke. Rebuke is needed for us to be able to evolve outside of our comfort zones and to ultimately get closer to the Father. Be careful of the comments and the criticism of your significant other or your closest friends. These are debilitating to them. One of the hardest things I ever had to learn between my wife is that no matter what I do, she's never going to show or accept love the way that I do. Just not going to happen. Completely different type of personality. For those who've come out of a Christian environment, you know there's the love languages and some of these other things that are out there. It's like, well, I'm an acts of kindness person. I'm a words of affirmation person. Well, she's never going to accept love the way that I show it. And she's never going to give it the way that I expect her to. So we can either fight, and she doesn't love me, and we can cause problems, or I can understand. Because some of the most debilitating comments that can be made are the ones made when you're just simply trying to understand. You're not trying to cause a fight. Well, I don't feel like you love me. Because, when I wake up, you don't make me coffee anymore. Well, I'm an acts of service guy. I need acts of service to feel love. And she's a words of affirmation. She could tell me I was beautiful 110 times a day. Wouldn't matter. Thank you. Again, it's looking inside yourself and not projecting it out to somebody else. It's understanding what the Father is trying to do and understanding that each and every person out there is their own independent person and they accept and they receive in completely different ways. And so if you think that I'm going to understand something the way you do or whatever, it's not going to happen. So let's focus on ourselves to become better individuals and let the Lord work inside of us. But debilitating comments to another person will shut down your relationship and ultimately will be the cancer that will grow and will terminate that relationship. Whether you're friends, you're a working relationship, whatever. On Facebook one time, Melissa posted something that said, people don't quit jobs, they quit managers. Over a period of time, comments, arrogance, all these things, personality conflicts, they grow, and somebody leaves. It's in every relationship. So take that time. Relationships are not 50-50. That's a lie. If you want a relationship to work, it's 100% to zero. You're in that relationship because you know you're supposed to. And you don't expect anything from the other person. You're going to do it because that's what your calling is. If God called you and said, hey, I want you to go do this. All right, Lord, you got to meet me 50-50 on this. No, He's calling you to go do something. Go do it. Husband and wife relationship. Come on, I'm not doing the dishes so that my wife is going to massage my back later. No, you do the dishes because it's part of loving and showing and being a part of that relationship. Friends, it's the same way. I struggle with this mightily. Sit down with friends and, you're trying to find something to talk about. All I do is ministry for the most part, so all I got to talk about is like the same three things. And I have to remember that sometimes I need to shut my mouth and let them talk. And I just need to listen. Why? Because it's 100% to zero. It's not 50-50. You give. Because that's what you're supposed to do. If you do not, if you're giving with some sort of preconceived notice, you are going to build animosity inside your heart. And once again, animosity then leads to some sort of breach at some point in time. It's that knockdown, drag them out marital fight, or it's that blow up between friends. And by the time you're done, you can't remember what it was. Oh, somebody took my sweater without asking, and then you're like, I don't even remember what we're fighting about. But 7 months go down the road and it's a huge ordeal. Honor. Honor is a powerful thing. You know, respect is used a lot. Men need respect. Men need respect. Women need honor. Other people need honor. Respect, I believe, needs to be earned. Honor can be given. So honor another individual. You know, it says that, you know, if one of the elders were to walk in, one of the wise, then we would show honor by standing. Honor is different than respect. Honor your wife, honor your friends, honor your colleagues, honor them for the fact that they're on the same team as you. They're part of that with you. Take respect and just... Not everything has to be earned all the time. Somewhere along the line, you got married to that person, so they earned a right to get a ring that somebody else didn't. Like Beyonce says, if you didn't like it, you didn't put a ring on it. In conflicts, you always stand with your wife. Period. Now, you can have private conversations, but don't shame your wife in public. Don't call your wife out in public. It's like calling yourself out. It's like calling out the inability for you to be able to lead your own home. You're not shaming her, you're shaming yourself. And we just talked about honor your wife. So you can't honor your wife and then turn around and shame her at the same point in time. It just doesn't exist. I know we've all heard this. Never hold a grudge, argue, or lose your temper. If any of you who've been married a lot longer than me has been able to successfully do this for a prolonged period of time, please come see me, because this is definitely one I'm still working on. And I even have in my notes, this is the most impossible for me. However, you're poisoning your own system by holding a grudge. Once again, I'm not taking the perspective of looking at this from another person's standpoint. I'm taking this as a very much, all I can control is what's right here, and all 6'6" of me. So, why would I poison myself and cast that out to somebody else? Why? Why would I hold a grudge? Why would I argue for the sake of arguing? Why would I lose my temper when there's no need for it? Why would we cause conflict when there's already conflict everywhere? Doesn't make any sense. We need to learn how to communicate at the right time, place, and heart. Otherwise, we have started a war, and we know that war is just meant for destruction. So why are we projecting blame? Whether it's our wife or somebody else. Because ultimately, we're allowing other people to get in between our relationship with God. We are. My relationship with God, my relationship with keeping the commandments, my relationship with prayer to Yeshua is based upon how you interact with me. And if you've hurt my feelings or if you've made me mad, well then I'm fully justified in my actions. At what point in time do we stop giving other people the power to get in between us and our relationships with God? At what point in time do we stop giving people the right to get in between our relationships with other people? I mean, there's multiple levels. You know, we talk about sowed all the way down to literal. There's all these deep spiritual things. But at what point in time do we step up and take responsibility for the fact that it's our responsibility? Somebody got between you and a friend. Somebody got between you and your wife. Somebody got between you and your boss. You did it. You allowed it to happen. Now, I don't know what the circumstance, but you allowed it to happen. Well, they got the promotion better than I did. Well, did you get an arrogant attitude and you got lazy? Well, kinda. Okay, and they worked their bottom off? Well, yeah. Okay, so you allowed them to go get it. Nobody robbed you. But that is our culture. That's our mentality. Is woe is me, woe is this, woe is that. No. We're projecting blame. But all we're showing is our own shame. If we aren't willing to accept the fact that we create the environments around us, then we will not be willing to do the work that's necessary to correct it. If you're waiting for God or Chad or Chris or Daniel or Ephraim to change that, you're just going to continue to work in the same way that you have always, which means you're going to get the same exact results that you have before. God will work through each and every one of us in each and every situation that we ever go through. But we must allow him to work. God's not going to come and dwell with a vessel that's attacking another one of his people. The plank in my own eye. But ultimately it starts in your home first. You know, oftentimes we talk about, especially when this Torah portion rolls around, we talk about leprosy, and a lot of it is the physical elements. It's the physical diseases and whatnot. But let us not be fooled. Each and every person needs to be healed. It's not just with what you can see with your own hands, you see with your own eyes, or you can feel with your own feet. Each and every person needs to be healed of something. Because normally our go-to is to look at the flaw in somebody else rather than the flaw inside us. The truth is that very few people have the ability to do anything in helping another individual overcome something. Like we said before, they have to give us the power to be able to speak into that. Whether you're a pastor, a rabbi, a friend, a mom, a dad, or whatever, they have to be able to give you the power to give them counsel. Otherwise, they're only going to make an adjustment in their own life if they want to. So, you have to focus on what God has given you to be able to adjust and be able to do. Because otherwise, you're just going to breed the anger inside your own heart. Well, this person's doing this person's doing that, and meanwhile, you're doing the same thing. Meanwhile, you're doing the same thing. The greatest legacy that we can leave, any one of us, in this movement, in our jobs, in our friendships, whatever, is the legacy of our families. That may not be kids, that may be a busload of kids, depending upon whether you're modern Midwest Messianic or you're ancient Near East Messianic. It depends on the amount of kids you have in the bus and all of that. I didn't even get a laugh out of that. So the people online were laughing, you couldn't hear me. It's your spouse, your kids, your friends, the environment you're in. If you refuse to invest inside your home, inside your marriage, inside your closest relationships, you will fail in your investments in any other place. Because sooner or later, it'll all come crashing down under the own guise of your own hands and your own smarts and your own ego. The leprosy that we should worry about is the one that's actually inside our own hearts. Because that's not the one we can physically see with our own hands and say, oh my gosh, I gotta go to a dermatologist. It's the one that's hidden away. And it only comes out when it wants to strike. If we can learn how to look at ourselves first and how to go before the Father humbled, I believe he will change each and every one of us. Which then I believe means he'll change our communities, he'll change our churches, he'll change our influence and our walk. And then he'll change a region, and he'll change a nation. If we can't humble up and get there, he's going to minimize our ability to witness to other people. And ultimately, I believe one of the strongest things that we're called to do on this earth is to help people find the Lord. But are we showing him the Lord? Or are we just talking to him about the Lord? And then are we turning around and showing them something completely different with our own actions? It starts in here. And it starts in your home first. And then by the grace of God, He'll give you the opportunity in other places to do that.
Yeah.